All right, welcome back, guys. It's myself and my dad again today, and we are going to actually go into talking about the hunt that him and Thomas went on, just a little bit about that, and then roll into some other things. We didn't really have time last time that we were here, but again, thank you for all the support and for all the new subscribers on the YouTube channel. Whether or not you really watch it on there or just listen on here, we appreciate it. Either way, whether you listen on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, any of those platforms out there, we thank you so much for your support. And the listeners are growing every day, and the downloads are growing every day, bigger and better than it's ever been. So we thank you for that and for all the feedback. So why don't we get into talking about that trip and just everything that led up to that. Let's see, that was in Wyoming. I hadn't mentioned it a couple episodes ago when he was gone. We had done some stuff and said that Thomas was headed up to Wyoming and that you and him were going together. So, I mean, Thomas shot a buck, but the process getting there and stuff, I mean, what day was it that you guys left and just kind of how all that played out?
Yeah, so let me see. That would have been October 23rd we left, and he had drawn a special tag in that unit where some friends of ours that actually hunt in that area have hunted in another zone right next to it, right? And so... But the lead up to that really was, I wasn't sure I was going to do it for multiple reasons. Number one is, a lot of crazy things going on right now in our country and so forth. And, I didn't want to leave mom by herself and that kind of thing. That was one of the things. So I was really praying about that. The second thing was, I've been all over the West hunting elk and deer and so forth. And I've backpacked a lot, but as you know, I mean, we had horses too, right? So me and you, I mean, you were a little kid. We went different Frank Church Wilderness area. I think you were a teenager then, but we've been all over in the wilderness. But it's been a long time. I mean, I grew up in Oregon, and I backpacked literally all over the place, up in the Cascades and in northeastern Oregon and so forth like that. So, but it'd been a long time. I think until this time, I think the last time was Greg, when me and Greg, we backpacked into Hell's Canyon, archery elk hunting. And it was like when we got down, I mean, that's like, I believe the deepest gorge in the continental United States. And so where we went was up by Hat Point. We dropped down, that's a lookout area, and we dropped down in there. Archery elk hunting, and it was awesome, but what it was also very steep. We were on a trail, but it was rough hiking, and so we were loaded down, and never really been in there, never had Onyx.
It was on your back, right?
Yeah, it's on your back. Yeah, we're backpacking, and so anyway, all these things were going through my mind, and on top of that, I'm 65, and I'm thinking, okay, do I really want to do this to my body? I don't really know how rough it is. I mean, I looked at Onyx, and I looked at the terrain, and I thought, I could do it. And basically what it was is I really wanted to be with Thomas, to see him get his first buck,
Right.
And I wanted to be a part of that. And, I mean, I had the possibility of getting a really, a big buck, Come to find out, though, I don't know if he told you this, but in Barney and them, they were saying that in 2017, I guess they had a bad winter in that area. So because when we went there was some bucks that they had been shot, but the bucks weren't as big as normal because that particular year, 2017, which would have been a 4 to 5 year old buck, they had a large,
kill off.
A bad summer. I mean, a bad winter. And so, there was a lot of those deer that got killed off. So, so anyway, they weren't as large as normal. And so there was a lot of things going through my mind. Number one is too, I didn't want to be a burden on Thomas.
Right.
Thomas he's been working out with you guys. You guys have been working out, and he's in good shape. And I just really didn't want to be a burden on him either. And so there was a lot of stuff going through my mind.
Which technically you can't really train for what you guys are about to do anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter how much weight we can lift.
No.
Even Thomas said, he goes, I can't believe how bad out of shape I was. And I'm like, yeah, I know you can be better, but you can't really train for that.
Right, yeah.
You can do the stair climber all you want. I mean, really the only thing you can do is go to our mountains and actually
exactly Because
push
the higher
yourself.
you go, the less oxygen there
Yeah.
is, right? And so
What do you guys know what elevation you were out there? Was it around
me and
8?
Thomas, the highest peak that we went to was I think right around 10,000.
Was it really?
And so I think our camp was in the 8,000 something
So
range.
you're up there.
Yeah, and so I had no idea really, weight, and you're trying to. I mean, I did it, but it's been a long time, right? And so those were just some valid concerns, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. Like I said, I think on one of the podcasts I did with you, I came up with the saying a long time ago is, I'd rather die living than live dying. I
Yeah.
just didn't want to have him pack me out, right? But anyway, so I decided to go for it. And so we went, and it was beautiful country. Gone through Idaho, all the aspen are changing colors, and the river. It was beautiful. It really was beautiful. And then got into Wyoming, same thing kind of is going on, and then went into the camp where the outfitter is, and then from there we went back up, and we went to the end of the road, and Johnny, he had never guided in that area, but the zone right beside it where Barney and them, so he's been there, but he's looked at it a lot. And he said, I spotted a lot there and so forth. So, I mean, we were all looking forward. It was fun being with them and Olivia. And Olivia's got a channel, too, on YouTube. I forget what it's called.
I think it's just Olivia Helton. I think, isn't it?
Maybe it is.
Why can I not remember?
She posted.
A little bit of that hunt.
Yeah, a little bit of that hunt. And so I know she has more. I'm looking forward to seeing. She got a really nice 5-point. And
it's Olivia Helton.
Yeah, Olivia Helton, spelled Helton. But anyway, she's I think 16 or 17, something like that. And so her and her younger brother Jack, who's I don't know, whatever, he's like 14.
Yeah.
So we all, they brought their vehicle and we brought our vehicle.
Or 15. Sorry, Jack, if we're wrong on that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
If you listen.
Anyway, we had some fun times and it was really great being with them there and everything like that. But where we parked our vehicle and loaded up, it's kind of gradual for a ways, and all of a sudden, man, it's just like straight up. And even Thomas, when we and him were talking, he said we were talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not telling him this, and he's not telling me that, but we're both thinking, because his pack was bigger than mine even. And he was like, he's talking to himself, okay, I got to go into another zone here, basically, will mind over matter, right? And I was thinking the same thing. We had our sticks and everything. That's the first time I ever had them.
They actually help.
They trust me, they
It's
help.
just that little bit of pressure off you, huh? That helps.
It takes that little bit of pressure off of you. But the other thing is, it's kind of like being in 2-wheel drive versus 4-wheel drive. And even when you're going downhill, using them, and especially think about it with a backpack on, if you trip, it's all multiplied because you could almost be a little top heavy. Saved my bacon more than a few times. And
what do they call those walking sticks, I guess, basically?
Yeah, they're walking stick, but I mean, my brand was different than Thomas's. I really can't remember off the top of my head, but that was, I think Johnny suggested that to Thomas. And I thought, you know what? I've seen enough on YouTube, different guys using that. I'm going to do it.
There's a reason, yeah.
And I'm glad I did. It's way better. It saves you. But anyway, so basically part of it, I mean, you almost have to go in a 4-wheel drive mode. I mean, there was times I was so utterly exhausted going up there. I was pulling myself up with my hands. I mean, it was pretty taxing on the body. But anyway, finally we popped over the top. It took a while, but we popped over I think it was an hour and a half or 2 to get up to where we were camped. And then
from the truck?
Yeah, from the truck. And so where we were at was really nice. I mean, first time Johnny had ever been there, first time we'd ever been there, but nice. And you could glass out, and there was actually water below. That was one of my concerns, because when I was looking on Onyx, I didn't see any water. And I mean, I seen little ravines and stuff, but dude, there's so much water up there. Like where me and Thomas went before he shot his buck, one of the tallest mountains there, almost to the very top, there was a spring. And so we even soaked our feet a couple times. I mean, we pulled our shoes off in this deep ravine where this little tiny creek. There's a little pool I had and a little pool he had, and we cooled our feet off because it was pretty rough. And so we made it, nice camp and everything there. And then that country is some of it's a lot of sagebrush, pockets of pines and I don't even know all exactly what was there, but a lot of fir trees and so forth. But it's real nice. But you have really you can really glass a lot of good glassing. But to be honest with you, I thought I would see more deer than what we did see, and it's a little different hunting because I haven't really rifle hunted in quite some time because
Right.
I've mostly archery hunted. I mean, last year, or it wasn't last year, it was actually in January. We went to Arizona with me and Bobby and Robert, and got a buck there archery hunting, and so it's been a while. But anyway, so it was a really great experience. But I think Thomas would probably say the same thing. It was one of those times in my life, this one particular day that he got the buck, that I had to dig pretty deep in my life. And I've done some pretty hard things and hiking and so forth, just life period. But this particular time, I mean, it was on a Wednesday, I believe, is when Olivia got her buck. When we got into camp and Thomas got his buck, and so we went up to that really high mountain.
So they shot on the same day?
Same day.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, but they were back to camp at 6:30, and we didn't get back till, I think about 1 a.m. And pitch black. We had headlamps, but still, I mean, it was a long ways. And so that whole experience right there, for me, it was gratifying because, trust me, I was quoting scriptures left and right to myself. You know this, and I've shared it with you many times. Like you do the same thing probably, but there's a scripture that says, "I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me," and all I'm doing because my pack is heavy, and we loaded up.
Were you carrying some meat?
Well, I was carrying his head, and I was carrying his rifle because his bag we had boned it out and he had the load. I mean, Thomas had a load. Plus that he had some of his cooking equipment, and just he had a heavy load. And the thing that happened with him, I mean, he can talk about it, but his feet was really what was putting him through torture. But that whole experience. So here we are. We left the top of that mountain. We got there probably around 4-ish, and by the time we left there, it was about 6. Because the 2 previous days he had spotted bucks up there. And so we left, I think it was about 6, and it got dark about 7:30, I think it was, in that neighborhood. And so I wanted to leave actually a little bit earlier because I was a little concerned, like walking that far, and knew it's going to be not too great. But anyway, so as we're going down, we're just going down back towards camp, which is a long ways away. The deer were coming out to feed, and they were feeding down. And so first ones we seen was just 3 doe. Shortly, they were probably 600 yards, but the next ones was those 3 bucks, and then actually 2 of them, one kind of disappeared, but there was 2 bucks there, and he ranged them. I think it was 618 yards. And what's the brand of gun he has? It's Christensen Arms.
Yeah.
But what is that? That gun's awesome.
It's a 28 nozzler.
Oh, 28 nozzler.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, and I don't know what his scope is.
I can't. I don't remember on that.
But he set up. I mean, even Johnny said that's the thing. That's the setup he wants.
I want to get that one.
Yeah. So it's super nice. But anyway, and what happened? It was kind of down at an angle, and if you could see the picture that I took of it, it was 2 ridges over. It's a long ways, and it was 600 and some yards that he shot. Well, he said he had it dead on, and his gun, I seen what it hit on the target. It was on. At 400 yards, it was on. Well, what happened is he shot over its back, and he shot at a buck, and they both split. Well, not even a few minutes later, there's another deer, and another deer had walked out right from where he had shot those 2. I guess they lost their buddies. Yeah. And so he pulled out the spotting scope, and sure enough, it was a buck. And it was like, he's not gonna wait anymore. He's just gonna shoot it. It was a 3-point. Yeah. But anyway, so he shot at 600 and some yards and spined it. He said the first shot, the one that he missed that shot over top of it, he shot the normal
Right.
spot you're going to shoot it, and it shot high. So he said, this time I put it down at this one's stomach. And by the way, this is a little trick that I've used many times. Thomas bought me a varmint call. I forget.
Way to stop him.
Oh, dude, that thing is. I've seen through my archery hunting times using calls like that right there. I've had deer come running to me.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, and so it works. Well, this time I took a little different one. It was a little cow call out of the mouth. And so I pulled that thing out because it was kind of angling away, walking. And I mean, 600 some yards.
I heard you.
And I blew on that thing. First time I kind of did it softer. It never stopped it. I did it harder, and it stopped and turned broadside. And he said this time he shot
The bottom of its
at the bottom of the stomach,
Mm-hmm.
and it literally spined him. And so later on, when we were talking to Johnny said up in that altitude up there, he said a lot of the hunters that come in there would end up missing a buck. They shoot too high.
Yeah.
Their gun would be on, but because of the altitude
Which I thought Thomas had messed with his gun to get that dialed in, because there is a way, there's like a graph I know you could use to like adjust for that. And I thought that Thomas had that done or knew about that. I know he did because he talked to me about it, but maybe he didn't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Because I know like they'll set the scopes up for like your your elevation. They'll set them up, preset them up for you for that trip.
Right.
But maybe, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't end up sending it in or whatever. But at least
I don't know. But it was kind of a downhill.
Which already changes
but
it.
he did it, and so we were celebrating. Probably it was just cool, the whole thing out led up to it, and that's a long shot. And so it probably took us 30 minutes to go down one slope and down through a ravine and up, and then over another one and up another one to where we finally actually got it, and then we boned it out and everything like that. And by then, now it's dark. Tried to take a mental picture of the way we were going to go.
Yeah.
And it was no good. No way that either way that you go. And so anyway, yeah. But we didn't get back to almost 1:00 a.m. in that.
Do you think that the big factor of that, was it the weight you guys were carrying, or was it the not knowing exactly to the T where it was at because your phones were dead?
I had a GPS. Well, his phone
died, right?
He had Onyx on it and everything. Yeah, he had saved. But what it is battery dead. My battery's dead and his battery's dead. And I had a little GPS that I use. It's very simple GPS, but it works well. And so the moon, I think, was coming out sometime, I don't know, around 2:00 or 2 a.m. or something like that. But it was dark, pitch dark. And what had happened, a cold front had come in, and we were hiking, and you'd go through one ravine and have to go up through a steep ridge, and your depth perception is totally different because it's pitch dark. We would get exhausted, and we'd sit there and we'd turn our lamps off, and you couldn't even see your hand in front of your face hardly. But what happened is this wind. All of a sudden, that particular day, the wind came in bad, and the wind was super cold. So it was burning your lungs. You're already exhausting your lungs. And
you're sucking all that cold air in.
Yeah, and so that's what happened. So, yeah, so we made it back, but we were beat. And so, yeah. It was
sleeping that next morning?
Actually,
as much as you could.
It wasn't too bad because because when we came into camp, they had a fire. You could see this fire way off. And that made it kind of nice to give us a little point of reference. But when we got there, they were up, and so it was neat. They showed their buck that Olivia got, which is a real nice buck, but they got there at like 6:30. Johnny said he went to bed, and he said he couldn't sleep. I think he was thinking about us, but
had to have been, because Johnny don't stay up late.
Trust me, there was more than a few times we were talking about. I'm just like, we're done. Let's just
sleep right here,
build a campfire, and just stay here.
Yeah,
but. So I was quoting scriptures. I'm following. Thomas had a better headlamp than I did, and I got my head down, looking straight at his heels, walking and right on his heels, and I'm quoting scripture. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And
hey, I can relate to your pain because I went down into San Joaquin. Did I tell you about that?
No, I don't
That
think so.
we hiked down into San Joaquin to fish. You've been down
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But
That was...
we went the short way. Yeah. Anytime Jason Cowden tells you it's the short way.
I heard he's not gone back that way.
Oh, really? He said that?
Well, who was it? Jack, I think, or somebody said I'm not going back that way.
I'm not. Maybe that. Who knows if that was or not? I know Jason would do it if you just told him that. If he heard you say that, he'd go.
If you challenged him, he would do it.
But I had never been down there. I don't know how that's even possible. But like every year they'd go. Bill and Travis and all them would go, and they would all hike down there and fish. And it's a beautiful place, and it's incredible. You've been down there. I don't know how. I've never been down there. I'm like 37 years old. But anyways, yeah, I can totally relate to you because I have been doing stuff to be in shape. I have been exercising. I've been doing cardio, the heavy bag, the jump rope, like running. What's that thing called? It's not
Elliptical.
Elliptical. Just anything like working out and short breaks, short rests. Just keep your heart rate super high. And again, you can't really, unless you go do it, you really can't train for that. I told Jason, I go, you did amazing, man. Like for your age, you like ripped up that and kept up with the young people. I mean, like I literally couldn't. But my issue was it was the cramping. And to be honest with you, that like put like kind of a weird thing in my head. And now it's like, man, I'm thinking like of the next time I go, it's like, is that going to happen again? Like, why did that happen? Which I got going down there and I was looking at the stat. I think, you know what it was? I was thinking I got food poisoning or something, but I think I got altitude sickness.
Oh, yeah. That happened.
Because I'm flying down that mountain. Like, I'm with the young people. Jason, Marianne, Jake, all them in their back. They're not. Jason could have been right by me if he wanted to. He didn't. He was just taking his time. I was, like, running down because we're going down. I'm, like, hauling. And, like,
but didn't you have to go down ropes?
Yeah, well, at the quarter of the way from the bottom is when we started doing that. But, like, it was just, like, really loamy, deep kind of dirt with pine needles, just years of pine needle layers.
Yeah,
so you're just kind of like slipping down and just, I mean, there's no effort hardly. You're just kind of gliding down it. And all of a sudden it was hot though, and we're on the sunny side of the mountain. But it's still in the morning, but it was already hot enough, and you're exerting yourself. I mean, I felt fine. I felt great. And like halfway down, I started getting a little bit queasy. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? I felt fine. I wasn't breathing real hard or exerting myself too hard. And I told Jake, I go, I'm going to throw up. I think I'm going to throw up. And he's kind of teased me or whatever. And I just I started throwing up. It was just dry heaving. I didn't have much for breakfast. I had some eggs, which doesn't feel like it helped much. I started dry heaving and I was like, okay, I'm good. Well, then we kept going. And then I started feeling really sick. And my stomach started turning at that point. And then I started was throwing up at this point. And we were like just hitting the rocks where like the boulders where we're going down on ropes. And then I had like diarrhea. Ain't no
really?
joke. Yeah, you're like, you guys go ahead. Yeah. At that point,
throwing up's one thing, but doing that is a whole other.
At both situations going on at the same time.
Oh, not good.
So now I'm getting hydrated, right? Every time I'm just getting worse and worse and worse. And we had water, but we were trying to semi-conserve because I knew I had to make it to go back up. The spring was over halfway up, almost 3/4, close between half and 3/4. So I'm like, oh man.
And you had no water?
Well, we had water, but I was just trying to really ration it smartly, because I knew I was like, I'm not gonna. Well, good, so much for that idea. But anyways, then I was getting cold chills, like I was getting the works, and I'm like, what in the world? I know it was altitude sickness because after that we got back, I was totally fine. It was just actually going up, I was fine. So I went down there, maybe a little bit of heat, something to do with heat exhaustion or whatever too. They had been down for a while. I sat down, was using the bathroom and like everything, and finally I got down there in the bottom, and I was almost passing out the whole once I hit the bottom, I was just like, oh my goodness, like what is snap out of this? Like shake yourself, get out, because that's not how I don't get that stuff. Yeah. And I would do stuff hard all the time. I was like, when you physically can't make yourself come out of whatever you're in,
it's mind over matter.
It totally is. Mm-hmm. And so, but I was already at the bottom, so I was like, you know what? I grabbed my fishing pole, and I'm like feeling like I can feel my heart even though I'm at the bottom, something wasn't right. Like I
Right.
definitely wasn't something right because I wasn't winded, but I was like pulsing in my eyes. Like I could just like I was getting tunnel vision. I was like, I'm about to pass out. And it's dumb because I wasn't exerted. I wasn't like like none of that. It was just like something was going on weird with my body. And I got to the creek and took or was wearing my shoes in there, and I threw a couple casts, caught a couple nice trout right off the bat for like 10 minutes. I was like, I can't enjoy this. I'm not even there. I'm like about to fall over. So I went and laid in this shallow creek, really nice shady spot. I just laid in it from like my chest down, and as soon as I cooled my core down, it was just like instantly felt better and revived. It was something was going. I was heat exhausted or something was going on and dehydrated.
Well, you ate before you ever did this, right?
Yeah,
So your body's already
trying to digest that.
What's that?
Trying to digest that food.
Yeah, so it's funny because talking about health, what you just went through is when I was a kid, after church, we'd always have family get-togethers. We'd either go over to somebody's house or they'd come over to our Graham's house, and we always wanted to play football. We always wanted, as a young person, a teenager, whatever. And our dads would always be the ones they would fall right to sleep.
Yeah.
So a big percentage, I mean, I think it's 30% of your energy is from digesting your food. So your body is going through digesting.
Wasting that energy on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then possibly a dehydration. And if you were having cramps, probably.
Well, I hadn't had those yet. So I was like
Was you sweating at all?
I stopped sweating. Like it was,
wow,
it was definitely a bad sign of what was going on.
That's a weird thing.
I didn't go in that hydrated. Let's put it that way. That's the biggest key, I think. And that's what led to what happened next. So we got down there, I laid in the creek, and Marianne was down there. It was like probably 4 or 5 girls, and there was like, I don't know.
She did the ropes too?
Yeah.
Really?
It wasn't the young kids did
I've
it. Like,
never seen that spot.
it was like 14, 15. It's just straight down, straight up. There's no like zigzagging. You're just straight down. And very steep. But anyways, I was laying in the creek. They were down fishing. I don't know where Marianne was at, but she said she was worried about me. She's like, almost thought I was, I guess she said she thought I was dead or something.
Really?
Because she said she yelled my name, and the creek's only as wide as this room is and very shallow, maybe about that deep. And she said she was just down the other side. I was laying right there. She said she yelled my name 3 times.
Really?
And I never even responded. And she said, she goes, Titus. And I woke up, I go, yeah, what's up? I felt fine. I was just like, I fell asleep. I was trying to prepare because I knew in like 4 or 5 hours, which that is not a place you go in and out the same day. I was told that by multiple people that have done it. Like, never again will I ever do that the same day. That's just complete torture. Travis said he's done it once, said he'd never do again. I think Bill and him did it once. They said never again, we'll never go in and out. Because they said for the fact that you guys did that's pretty impressive. But she's like, I have some stuff. And by the way, if you guys are hikers, backpackers, you do big game hunting, or any time for any situation where you're dehydrated, I will say this was the most unbelievable thing I've ever taken for dehydration and like recuperation. And that's called Liquid IV. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
You know what? Mom just told me about that the other day.
I've heard nurses tell me about it, but I've never taken it. Some of them is at work, but that was the first time I actually took it. I've known about it for a while. Well, I go anything, Marianne. Like at this point, I had some food, but I was like, that's not what I need. I need like supplementation, like some vitamins and some nutrients or whatever. Nutrients.
Yeah.
But anyways, she went and got it, shook it up. It wasn't the greatest tasting stuff, but I could have never cared about what it tastes like as long as it's helped me. I chugged that bottle. I'm not lying. When I say in less than 10 minutes, I felt like I just got a booster shot of 1,000 horses or something.
What's in that stuff?
I mean, I can look it up right now, but there's like lots of B vitamins and minerals and vitamin C, just like everything you would need.
Yeah.
There's some stuff in there, a bunch of electrolytes and stuff that. Oh my goodness, I'm serious. I've never taken anything that instantly made me feel better like that. Not even like a pre-workout. It was just like, I mean, it like literally shocked me back into,
So it was liquid. So you mix it.
So
with
it was
water?
a little power pack,
small
one, and you put it in a bottle of water, chug it, and I just chugged it. I didn't like sip it. I got it in my system, and I was up fishing. No more of that lightheadedness, no more weakness, no more shaky and nausea. It just completely gone. So I started fishing a little bit, trying to find everybody, but I was like, I'm still trying to conserve, right? Because I'm like, if I'm this messed up now, it's going to be way worse coming out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And it sure was. We got like a quarter of the way out. We did all over the rocks. I'm feeling good. Like, I still felt really good. I was rested up. I was like, man, I feel good. I'm going to do good coming out here. I'm with the pack and everything. And it was so weird because Jake was there and Jason never had that, but it hit me and him almost simultaneously. It was really weird. We're about a quarter of the way up. All of a sudden, my left leg gets kind of a Charlie horse in my left quad on the top side of it. I'm like, ooh, and I never get cramps, ever. I can name on less than one hand how many times I've got cramps. I remember you used to get them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Never. I don't get them. And so I was like, oh, man. And I kind of like stop for a second. I'm like rubbing it out and like, okay, I'm good. And we keep going. I feel fine. I'm not even breathing heavy. Like, I'm like, man, I feel so good. I'm so glad I exercised. I'm thinking all these things. And all of a sudden, it starts in another spot. And that one comes back. And it's like it's squeezing up. And I'm like, how try to walk when you're in full leg cramp Charlie horse.
Oh, totally.
And on one leg. Okay, so now I'm like, oh man, and I'm like kind of like hobbling. I was like, man, I'm thinking, walk this out, get it out. And then my right leg starts. And then it was from my hip to my ankles, my calves, my quad, my hamstrings. I've never had anything in my life like that. And I feel like I've pushed myself way harder than this thing. That being said, I've never pushed myself as hard as I did on that trip. Not because of that mountain, because we went on, in my opinion, worse things. It was the fact I literally walked out of there, 3/4 of the way out of there, with solid leg cramp from my hips to my ankles. Solid, never let up. It didn't matter if I sat on a rock, I was locked. My legs, I basically like.
That's miserable.
Mental. The mental battle I went through, I don't think I have done any mental battle like that in anything I've done. And it's not just age. It was the fact of the pain that I was in and still knowing I had to get out of there.
Well, plus that, you were in the National Guard. When you went through training, that had to be pretty tough. I mean, I
basic
remember.
Training, Army basic training is what it is. I mean, I wasn't, to be honest with you, I think that could have been a lot worse, but we did a lot of things that did
push you.
Yeah. I feel like I probably pushed more in hunting and stuff than that, to be honest with you. But
that kind of prepared you for it, maybe. Mentally, that you knew you could do it.
Well, it's like, mentally, like, I know there is no way out. No one's carrying me out of there, and I won't want him to anyways.
That's funny you say that, because one time me and Thomas, he was always leading the way. And I could see his feet, how he was tenderly walking as he's walking. And I felt so bad for him because at one point my feet were really bothering me, my tendons and my arches, until I started using those zero shoes and minimalist shoes. And
is that what you wore up there?
Yeah, I bought a brand new pair that was waterproof, and no problem. It's not like regular shoes; they have to break in at all, anything like that. But I just seen the torture he was going through. So we were sitting one time. He just sits down and he packs. Every time you get up, it's almost you're already tired, but
it almost makes it worse.
Oh yeah, I know. Once you sit down, you can't. You get your pack back up and go. But I go, Thomas. Okay, we were talking about setting up a camp. I think if I remember right, setting up a fire. And I go, what's the options here? We're not going to stay here and die. There's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're either going to go to camp.
We'll kill ourselves.
Or we're going to kill ourselves. We're going to die. We're not dying here. Right. So that option's off the table. So anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and you were talking about those sticks, and that's what made me think. I was I would have paid for those walking sticks. Because if I had the walking sticks, so this is what happened. So now we're about 3/4 of the way up. And by the way, we ran out of water about.
And it's hot.
45, yeah. We waited late, though, so that sun was on their side. So that saved our bacon, because if I would have been in that dead sun, I don't know what would have, how much worse that would have been. But I had this much water for, I can't tell you how long. And I was just like, sip, walk, 10 minutes. Just
and you're cramping still, right?
Oh, man, yeah. I never stopped. So no matter in this whole story, I never stopped cramping. And I have 3 or 4 bottles of water empties. So I'm like, we get to that spring, just got to get to that. That was the main goal first, right? Get that spring. And I come in that spring and just like fall in it and just bury those bottles and just like, and the whole time I'm thinking, I don't care what this does to my stomach. If this isn't pure water, at this point, I have to have water.
Yeah.
So I'm chugging. I must have drank 4 straight bottles back to back, but I was trying to be careful because I know you can kind of jack yourself up even worse. And we sat down for about 10 minutes, and then we got it. I filled all those up, and by the time I got out, I drank all those again.
Really?
But about a quarter away from the top, or almost at the top, I don't know who said something about a stick. I'm like, why did I not think of that? So I grabbed about a baseball bat size at the bottom of it, that size, and I should have grabbed 2.
Oh, so you did. You made your own, yeah.
I grabbed one. I think Jake or someone said it, like, hey, why don't you use that kind of as the support? And man, that was a lifesaver. I come out of there,
yeah,
like this, like an old man. Like I was messed up. And they got out of the truck, and me and Jake, the ground finally flattened out. I never thought it was going to, but finally flattened. We're almost to the truck. And me and Jake put our arms around each shoulders. We're like, we made it. It was like so embarrassing because they've been sitting in the truck, those young kids.
So that was my question. Next question. So you were going through all that.
And Jake, I forgot. Jake goes too.
How old is Jake?
He's 38 or 9.
So he's a little
But
older.
he said when he would stop, his would let off. So he was the same as me. We were together. Like we were hobbling all the way. It wasn't. Thank goodness, because I would have felt terrible if someone waiting on me like that.
So you were telling me about some of those young people. So we're talking young people that are teenagers. Like, what's the youngest probably?
I think 13 or 14 to
So
20s.
You basically, they would recover so fast, right?
Yeah.
So going down or coming up,
Mhm.
they could just go, right?
Mhm.
And wouldn't be affected the same.
Yeah.
And so you went through with what you went through, right?
Yeah.
And so being young like that is
It makes me mad, though.
It's a blessing.
Like it makes me not because of them. I'm not trying to keep up with them, but I'm not that old to be like so far behind them.
No.
In all reality, because
God,
my
it's just-
mind,
it's the way they recover. Though.
my mind is way stronger than theirs.
Oh, totally.
Could ever be at that
Exactly.
age. Not saying it couldn't be at some point, but because those kids would crack me up. I'm like, this is a perfect illustration of mind versus physical ability, right? They're young, they're skinny, they're lean, but their minds aren't that strong because these boys would get up there. I won't even say names, not that it matters if I did or not, but like these boys would coming out there, they'd be laying down, like half dead, half asleep, because they'd wait and give us. It was a good excuse for them while we're hobbling up there. And we get up to him, and then they're like, "Oh man, I don't know if I can do. I don't know."
They would say that.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I can do this. And then just get up and just run 200 yards like they wasn't even there. I'm like, your mind's telling you your body's fully capable.
Yeah.
My mind is totally knowing I can do it, but my body
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
letting me.
Exactly.
And this is the crazy thing. So we get up there, we reach the truck. I don't think they were there like a crazy long time before us, but enough to where it was like, like drives me nuts. So I get there, we're driving down the road. They haven't been resting but 10 minutes. And Jack and, for 2 people, Jack and Morgan take off running down the road, but they were so dead exhausted, they didn't think they could even make it out of there. I'm like, your brain was telling you that. My brain knew I was getting out of there. Theirs was questioning it, but their bodies were fully functioning. It's like, you little... I go, can you imagine? And now I understand why you or Brother Hill or any of these older people would say, man, if I just had this brain and that body,
no
it's
kidding,
amazing what I could do. Because you don't know as a young kid, too, the things you could do. But now you're like, I know I could do that.
Well, part of that, I think, is wisdom, too.
Yeah.
Cramps, my dad, he passed away at 91, but I believe when he was... It might have been in his 70s or, probably 70s. Him and my mom went to Pennsylvania to where my sister lived. And he told me, because he had a pig valve stuck in his heart. Well, all his life.
Your grandpa?
Yeah, Cramps, yeah.
You did? I didn't know that.
My dad. And so what happened, all his life, been totally healthy. Wasn't on any
How old was he when that happened? I never knew that.
It was well in his 70s. I'm wondering if it wasn't even maybe early 80s. But what it was is my sister lives in Pennsylvania, and it's kind of in the Amish area. And there's a lot of I call them hills, but I mean compared to the Rockies or where we've hunted and stuff, they're mountains versus smaller mountains. But still, it was steep, And he told me he thinks how he injured his heart. because I guess I don't know if it was which valve, but it tore. And so he ended up having a pig valve put in. But they did a heart operation on and put that in. But he really feels like he strained himself because they were honking the horn. He could hear the horn honking, and he was trying to hurry up and accomplish what he wanted to accomplish by going up this mountain. And he feels like he really put too much stress on his heart. And so that was always on my mind. Like when I was doing what I was doing, I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't want,
Can't be foolish.
I don't have nothing to prove. I know I'm a man. I know I've done stuff. I don't have to prove myself. I mean, even Brother Hilton, when we went to Colorado that time, I stayed on the side of the mountain, and you were down with him. I'm like, okay, I don't have to prove myself.
No.
And so he would say to himself, I may not get there as fast as you guys, but I'll get there. Yeah, and so having that wisdom not to, potentially kill yourself doing it.
Yeah.
So, because health is invaluable. Yeah. There's a scripture. I love this scripture, so I'm gonna attempt to quote it, but it starts in Proverbs 4:20. It says, "My son, attend to my word, incline thine ear to my sayings. Let it not depart from thy eyes. Keep in the midst of thy heart, for it is life to those that find them, and health to all your flesh. Keep your heart with all diligence. Keep your heart with all diligence, for it is," I forget exactly how it goes. I can usually quote it. I'm not being put on the spot, but that right there tells you how important health is, and and so, it's a very important thing. And I think as some of my family members right now that are going through some real challenging times because of side effects, I believe, from pharmaceuticals that we've talked a little bit about before. I think there's a time and a place, but God willing, short term. So I don't really know how far you want to go into this or whatever, but
let's start another one. We'll go into another episode, but since we've already been pretty much at 40 minutes on this one,
so anybody that's actually did backcountry hiking knows how invaluable it is to try to at least prep.
And you know what though?
Months ahead of time.
We're saying, we're talking about ourselves, but the fact that you still did it at 65, and I'm still doing. There's people that basically feel like they just washed away at 35.
Yeah,
and I'm like, your life is just you're in the prime of your life, man.
Prime of your life.
And you've taken care of yourself, and that there's a lot of 65-year-olds that couldn't even dream of doing that. And you know what's neat is we have a lot of people around us, even older than you, that have done insane things.
Yeah.
And I need to have Brother Hilton come over and tell his story about him.
Totally.
That's insane. How old was he? 80?
Oh, he's like 87 now.
He was like 84.
Early 80s.
Yeah.
Sometime.
Well, and I could do it, but I would be hurting.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So
see, here's the prime point about that though, and me and him are so close, and I'm just straight up and honest. And he's been into wellness for many years, but I've told him many times because he's so busy as a pastor, that he didn't even go walking to try to prep himself.
Yeah,
and so. That a few of the last hunts that he did, those strenuous things, he told me, I mean, basically for 2-3 days, he's laying in his tent and he's taking some Advil because he's all stove up.
Yeah.
And so I told him, in fact, I was just telling Mom the other day, I think I'm gonna get a hold of him because he got drawn in Wyoming for the whitetail hunt. Not that that's that
I didn't know that.
But I think I'm gonna talk to him about picking him up and walking the bike trails.
Yeah.
A couple days a week, I could do that. I could go pick him up. I think it'd be fun,
Yeah.
And go pick him and go for a walk because I mean he's always been so busy trying to help other people.
Yeah.
But that's not that good to go put that kind of strain.
No way for anybody cold turkey.
Anybody.
Yeah, let alone that age.
Yeah. So.
Well, you need to try to see if we can get him back over here. He's been on it before, but he's never been on the video one. So it'd be nice to get him over here.
Yeah, totally.
If you want to see if he'll come by, we can set something up.
Yeah.
So
I've interviewed him on video right around all his mounts.
Yeah.
Because this man has hunted
he's
pretty much everything.
Stuff. Yeah, he has. He's been on the podcast before. If you've been around long enough, you've heard him on here. But I need to get him on here like 3 or 4 more times. Like
wealth of information. I mean, his memory, unreal.
Yeah.
How he can go back in time and tell
Mhm.
you stuff when he's a little kid, and how he grew up in the mountains of
Yeah.
Mariposa, and just all this stuff. And such a great man to hunt with, so
Yeah.
much fun to be with, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, you can learn. You can learn from older people, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Okay.